Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. So like Cindy and I have gotten to do over the last several weeks, we have a wonderful opportunity today to introduce you to a gentleman that's become a really, really dear friend. We just have loved every interaction we've had with him. And we're really building to something that Matthew Tobia, Chief of the Harrisonburg Fire Department here in Harrisonburg, Virginia, asked me maybe a year ago. We're having lunch and I tossed the question out. Gosh, Matt, I love what you do. I love the support your team provides for our community. What can I do to be a blessing? Cindy and I we're two people. We don't have a lot of reach. And he said, but you do. And I think you've got a reach in the business community that can help me do something that I've wanted to do for a while that's tied to our Harrisonburg Professional Firefighters Foundation, and that's Start a 100 Club. So we're going to get into that today and a lot more. So before I go any further, I'm just going to say I've absolutely loved every interaction that I've had with Matt. I consider him a dear friend at this point. I wish we had more interaction, but we're both busy. Matt, how about you start by giving a brief overview of your professional background and maybe your experience through fire service or anything else you want to share?
Yeah, Wes, thank you so much for the honor of being here today. I truly appreciate it. I have had the luckiest, most improbable, amazing career that I think any human being can possibly have. I am blessed to have the greatest job in the world. I almost feel a little bit guilty for everybody else because I got lucky enough to have the very best job that there is. So I am currently in my 38th year in the fire service. I started out as a volunteer in a small rural community in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I spent 23 years in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, a metro-sized fire department just outside of Baltimore, where I had the opportunity to do some just amazing things. I actually retired from that job for an entire 24 hours so I could take a job with Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System. And in 2019, I started a journey of 4 years with the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System. And I tell people all the time that Loudoun County is one of the fastest growing communities in the United States of America. And it was the functional equivalent of standing on a train platform and literally sticking my hand out as an Acela train went by at 100 miles an hour and grabbing a hold of it. And that's what I did for the next 4 years. I literally just hung on tight before having the honor of a lifetime to be able to come to Harrisonburg, Virginia. My wife and I are very active with a camp for children who are burn survivors. The camp is held annually here in Harrisonburg. And so for about the last 25 years, we've been coming to Harrisonburg, and we always told each other if we ever had a chance to move here, that we would take full advantage of that opportunity. That opportunity came, and we have absolutely taken full advantage of it. We love it here. We love it here so much that my wife said that I can go anywhere I want, and she'll be right here waiting when I get back. So I think what she's very nicely saying is that this is my last stop. And, the fire service has been a family affair for us. My wife is currently in her 27th year with the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. It's a foundation that was formed by congressional act to honor firefighters who die in the line of duty, take care of their families, and do everything possible to help their families find the new normal that comes after they have made that ultimate sacrifice. And so for a very long time, I have had the honor of getting to spend time with the families of our fallen heroes. And that helps inform, priorities. When you're a leader, oftentimes there are conflicting priorities, right? For me, in this job, those priorities are crystal clear, and they are reinforced every single day by the knowledge of what can happen when those priorities are not crystal clear. So, journey of a lifetime, best job that a person could ever possibly have. I really consider myself very fortunate.
Oh, That's amazing. We're so blessed that you're in our community, and the folks that'll see this. Gosh, this event coming up in a few months it's already got a regional from New Jersey to Georgia reach, and even to Oklahoma and so on and so forth. But I'm so excited for those folks to get a taste of who you are and what you represent, and the organization you've connected with. Now, before I go there, you hit on something that was just so powerful. A lifelong friend of mine, who I think you know, at least in passing, Ben Kaufman. He's going to be the MC today. He's currently deputy chief in Frederick County, just an hour or so north of us. He had a purpose that I watched Ben at 14 years old start volunteering, riding his bicycle to the firehouse, but also sometimes to the fire scenes and accidents and so on. And he said every now and then the guys would even throw his bike on so he wouldn't have to ride back, right? They'd give him a ride back. For you, Matt, I know what it was for Ben. What was it for you, that clear purpose that got you started in fire service, and how has that clear purpose for you individually really evolved over the years? Because let's be honest, you said it earlier, leadership's hard. And without that clear purpose, we don't do it.
You know, it's interesting. My journey started with a trip to law school that never quite materialized. From the time that I was age 5, I had planned to become a lawyer. And I was in my undergraduate studies, and I was well on my way heading for law school. And then a funny thing happened on the way to law school. I got involved with emergency services, and I took a hard left turn. And I think what it really did was it sparked in me the recognition that there is nothing so affirming as helping somebody in the worst day of their life. When an individual is having the worst day of their life, being beside them is so affirming. You know, the reality is that people die, and there are instances when we simply cannot change that reality. But even in that moment when we are unable to save a life, the fact that we are able to be beside someone and demonstrate compassion, I think, is the most affirming thing that I have ever or will ever do in my life. And so that opportunity has fueled that energy for all these years. And, you know, I'm as excited today about being a firefighter paramedic as I was, 38 years ago.
Yeah, and I see it in your interaction with your team, and that's something that I never take for granted. It's truly humbling to watch. I also remember a time that you and I had lunch, and it brought me to tears because you said, "Hold on, I'll be back," and you ran to your car and you got the toy fire helmet and some stickers for a kid in the parking lot. And I'm going, "Holy crap! This is one of the coolest things that I've ever gotten to see," because you're so genuine and so heartfelt, not just in the bad days, but in the good days too. It's really cool. Now, Matt,
and I gotta tell you, Wes, like in that moment, like I think I told you this, that's the easiest thing I did that day, right? That is the easiest thing that I did that day. And from a leadership perspective, I think it points to the genesis of everything, and that is relationships. Your people have to know that you care about them more than anything else. You know, I know that there's this perception, and there's different schools of thought about leadership and customer service, right? Lots of different schools of thought about that. I personally subscribe to the idea that the extent to which I take care of my people will translate into how they take care of our customers. And so it really is about people first.
Yeah, and Matt, I'm willing to make the argument all day long with anybody that wants to, that if that's not how somebody's leading, they're a boss, they're not a leader. Is what it is. Fight me, right?
Right. Understood.
So now your career's progressed. When you started as a volunteer, you ran calls. You were a fire guy. You weren't in a leadership role for a number of years. What really motivated you to maybe get out of the day-to-day, the shift work, if you will, into taking on that leadership responsibility? But that comes with true focused leadership development and training.
Yeah, when I joined the fire service, a big part of why I joined the fire service was because I could see that the fire service had a very well-defined career ladder. And that if I wanted to challenge myself to climb that ladder, to see what I was capable of achieving, to challenge myself to become better, to be a student of the craft, to be a student of the fire service, to ultimately leave the fire service better than I found it, I knew that I would need to be challenged. Plus, the reality is that I have ADHD, like it's going out of style, Wes. And if I didn't have a constant challenge in front of me, I was going to get bored and then I was going to get in trouble. And so that the fire service has provided that. The other thing about the fire service, of course, for people who live with ADHD is that you never know what the next emergency is going to be. It is never boring. Never, right? So, the thing that, that I looked at was first, a challenge for me, right? Second, an opportunity to impact other people's lives. And perhaps most importantly, is paying it forward for those individuals who showed me the way, right? The reality is that there are no words that I could ever say out loud to fully express the weight and measure of the individuals who have invested in me in the course of my career. And so what I need to do is live my life in a way that brings honor to them and is a credit to their investment so that I am worthy of their investment, that I am proving to them every day that I am worthy of what they saw in me, even when I couldn't necessarily see it in myself, or quite honestly, when I was young and maybe a little bit less mature, when they chose not to pummel me when I probably deserved it, right? That they took a deep breath and they were patient when they probably had every right to take me out back and thump me.
Amen to that. And I'm picturing half a dozen mentors in my life that I can say, yep, holds true for them. Praise God that they were patient with me when I needed that patience. And still today, I mean, quite frankly, Cindy's one of those that's still patient with me when I need that patience.
Yep.
Now, we've developed, I mentioned it before, I truly appreciate the friendship that we've developed over the last several years. I think it started with me kind of stalking you, but you were gracious and took it. When I ask you that question, what did you see? It wasn't called the Leadership Legacy Experience at the time. It was an idea, but what really generated the idea in your mind to use something like that to start the 100 Club?
Yeah, the thing about relationships is getting out of your own bubble, and learning from others and being around other really smart people like yourself and Cindy and business leaders that you attract to, talk about how to solve the wicked problems that all of us face every day. So, having an opportunity to sit on this panel and bring a fire service perspective is just another way of looking at a different way of solving common problems, because in reality, all of our challenges are identical because they all involve people, right? And I say that as opportunities, and I don't mean challenges in a negative way. I mean, when we are called upon to lead, we are called upon to provide that strategic direction that people want. They gravitate towards that, right? So, that was a big part of it. But what I knew was that oftentimes people in communities hold the fire service in tremendous regard, and that is deeply appreciated. And I hear so often people say, I could never do your job. I could never run into a burning building. I could never do CPR. I could never extricate someone who was trapped in a motor vehicle collision. I could never help someone who's having the worst day of their lives. But I love what you do, and I deeply respect it. And that is actually all that we need. That's it, right? Like those words of affirmation carry us a long way. But one of the things that they can do is, in a very simple way, they can help support families of firefighters and other public safety officers who are injured or even killed in the line of duty. Now, we accept the possibility that we may have to put our life, we may have to sacrifice our life, because that's our job. Our job is to put ourselves between harm and the community that we serve. And so we accept that, and we expect our families to accept that as well. But when we leave our families behind, and we hope that we never have to make that sacrifice, but when we leave our families behind, we want to know that our families are going to be cared for as if we were still there. And so the 100 Club is an example of that type of support that individuals who would never go into a burning building can provide, and know that they are doing something immensely valuable to the firefighters. And that is promising to take care of their families when they are no longer able to do so.
And the beauty, as you explained it to me, and I'll do a quick commercial for the importance of the 100 Club, is, gosh, we, businesses, individuals, whatever, we do frivolous things with $100 all the time. But the reality is this is a $100 per year commitment that helps sustain and support the work that the Harrisonburg Professional Firefighters Foundation does. And as you explained it to me when we first had the conversation over lunch, it was at the galley. I remember as we're sitting there, it was, hey, it's not just about professional firefighters. It's not even just about Harrisonburg. It's about filling a need, and how the bylaws were written loosely. Predominantly, that's the target. But hey, if someone law enforcement, if someone in emergency services, if someone volunteer, whatever, hey, just recently, I've since joined the board. Someone recently had a need in Loudoun County where you served before, and they says, hey, we've got some funds, let's dedicate X amount to help with this particular thing. And it's just beautiful, Matt. I love the reach, and I'm forever grateful that you helped connect me and Cindy to help start the 100 Club for the Harrisonburg Professional Firefighters Association. Thank you for that. No.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, the 100 Club, the whole idea of the 100 Club is this: $100 a year, you join the organization, that $100 becomes the basis of, you know, a tidal wave of support, right? And you're 100% right, Wes. Think about, you know, in the course of a week, think about how many times you stop at Starbucks or whatever your favorite coffee location is, right? Look at your debit card records for a month and figure out what you've spent $100 on. You know, that may seem trivial, but in this case is incredibly meaningful. You know, and probably the most immense example I can give you is in Arizona several years ago, 19 firefighters died in one brush fire, one wildland fire. 20 firefighters were overrun by a fire. 19 of them died. The 100 Club of Arizona was able to provide support to every single family of every fallen firefighter. Now, we don't expect to ever have that level of tragedy here, but even one line of duty death is just too many.
Absolutely.
And being prepared for that is critically important.
So as a limited but starting point success story, I'll share that as you and I talk right now, we've got over 20 founding members, and we're still over 2 months away from the event. So our goal is to have between 40 and 50. And as you know, 5% of all the general ticket sales also go to the foundation. So we're looking forward. We're going to do one of those big cheesy checks at the end of the day and so on, because we want to celebrate it with all of our partners, all the founding members, and truth be told, everybody that participates in the Leadership Legacy Experience, because that serves a strong purpose. So with that in mind, share something that the community probably doesn't know about your team in the Harrisonburg Fire Department that you really want them to be aware of.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I'll give you a great example. When somebody calls 911 in the city of Harrisonburg and says that somebody on location, wherever they are, is having chest pain, they think that the first thing, what they really want is they want an ambulance to show up, right? But in the city of Harrisonburg, the very first thing that's going to show up is a fire engine. And they will look quizzically at the fire engine and say, why is the fire department here? Nothing is on fire. The reason the fire department is present is because every single firefighter in the city of Harrisonburg is trained as an emergency medical technician. A number of them are also trained as paramedics, and we are literally bringing the emergency department to the patient's side on the fire engine. Almost every single intervention that can be done in an emergency department can be done by the personnel who are riding on that fire engine. And the reason that we send the fire engine first is because almost always, more than 90% of the time, they are the closest trained individuals to provide life-saving care. And so when you call 911, it is likely that the first thing that's going to show up is a fire engine, and you should know that the individuals riding on that fire engine are incredibly trained, tremendously professional, and dedicated to providing the highest quality of service possible.
That's outstanding. I had the pleasure of knowing some of that, but I never get tired of hearing that detail because so many people just don't understand that. Thank you for sharing it. So let me change gears a little bit and ask, do you have a recent example of something you and your team have been able to really spearhead and the impact that it's had in the community?
Yeah, sure. So one of the greatest things that I can tell you about is something that has come out of our Community Risk Reduction Division, which is a 3-member team led by an amazing, talented Lieutenant Erin Staley. She and her team are just unbelievably great. Now, just so you know how valuable they are, I have a friend who's the fire chief of a metropolitan-sized fire department with over 1,000 career personnel and an equal number of volunteers. So 2,000 members in their department. They have one full-time community risk reduction person focused on making their community better. We have 3 full-time. That shows you the level of support that this city gives to the mission of reducing risk. But let me give you the quick example. Our community risk reduction team put together a sensory-friendly Halloween event for children who have special needs, who may be afraid of sirens and loud noises, who may react negatively to sirens and loud noises. And so we were able to put together an event just for children who might otherwise have special needs that might prohibit them from participating in fire department activities. And it has been a tremendous success. And I could not possibly be more proud of the creative way that this team is meeting the needs of our community.
Matt, that's incredible. I'm almost in tears hearing that. I wasn't even aware of it. I know Aaron, I've met a lot of your team members, actually. That's absolutely fantastic. Now, earlier you shared how Harrisonburg was a destination that you and your wife, Jeannie, just got to meet her a couple weeks ago, that you said, hey, we want to be here. And she said, hey, I'll be here waiting whenever you come back, right? But talk to me about how the purpose of the organization, because you started as the deputy chief, right, in the Harrisonburg Fire Department, how the purpose of the organization aligned with your individual purpose, because you could have had a job anywhere. And I understand it's cool to live here, but there's a lot of other organizations you could have been a part of. What made this one click?
Yeah, so a couple of very important things. First, the Harrisonburg Fire Department has a tremendous reputation for providing world-class service, and that's a product of generations of people who have come before us, who have demanded a lot from the personnel who come to be part of this organization. And, I think about Chief Larry Shiflett and Chief Ian Bennett, who, were both, examples of leaders who held people accountable to ensure that we never lost sight of our mission. The other influence is, frankly, that there is a culture of service and a culture of caring for each other in the Central Shenandoah Valley. In the Harrisonburg-Rockingham area, there is a nearly unparalleled commitment to neighbor helping neighbor, of always looking out for those individuals who are most at risk and doing everything possible to care for them and not ever look past an individual in need. And so those types of things really aligned with our own core values of service to others and accountability for excellence. It's interesting. I will tell you very quickly, many fire departments, many large fire departments across this country are struggling with recruitment, retention, and finding people and filling vacancies. There are many fire departments that have 20 or 30 or even 100 vacancies at a time. I'm honored to say that we currently today, as we are speaking, have 0 vacancies. We have a wait list of individuals who want to come join our team, and we have tremendous support from our city. And we are, in my lived experience, the most demanding fire department of our personnel that I have ever worked for in my professional career. There is absolutely nothing wrong with demanding a tremendous amount from your personnel, because demanding greatness attracts greatness. It happens every time. If you demand mediocrity, you will attract mediocrity. But if you demand greatness, which frankly is sometimes inconvenient, but if you demand greatness, you will get greatness.
You just did a commercial for the recruitment, retention, and culture course that Cindy and I do with businesses across the country, because, and I make the expectation in that, hey, quite frankly, if you expect mediocrity, you push away greatness. They won't stay if mediocrity is the goal. I won't, you won't. That's just not how it works. That was beautiful. The last question I'll have, because I know you're on the timeline, is what advice would you give in any industry to a young aspiring professional that wants to grow into a leader?
I think what's really important, if I could say this, is always be respectful of your organization's history without being bound by it. You should respect the fact that a tremendous number of people have worked very hard to get the organization where it is. And at whatever point you enter into the organization, you will have to acknowledge that it's not perfect. It will never be perfect. And I think it is possible to be respectful of your history without being bound by your history. So respect the past, even as you embrace new opportunities. The other thing that I would tell any young individual is the only thing that you have 100% control over is your own attitude. Attitude is a choice. It is a choice we make every day of our lives. When you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, you have a choice to make about how you are going to approach that day and whether or not you are going to ever allow others to hijack your attitude. Don't allow anyone to ever hijack your attitude. It requires grit. It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. The hard is what makes it great. But you are in control of your own attitude. So take responsibility for that and be accountable to yourself.
Wow. And I'll add that clear purpose, when we've got it individually and we can attach it to our organization, that helps us get through the hard.
Oh yeah, 100%. You have to know your why. A very good friend of mine wrote an article recently in a trade magazine, and he's like, you have to know your why. And for him, the why, like it is for many of us, is the opportunity to know the impact of the sacrifice that the families of fallen firefighters make. For me, that is my why, right? To recognize that tremendous sacrifice, honor that sacrifice that's been made, and do everything possible to prevent other firefighters' families from having to travel that terrible, tragic road.
Beautiful. Matt, I truly appreciate you being part of this with me. And more importantly, I appreciate you giving me and Cindy the opportunity to help you launch the 100 Club with the Harrisonburg Professional Firefighters Foundation. Gosh, I appreciate your friendship. I can't say it enough. For anybody listening, if you have a need for continuing education credit, Cindy and I've built a program that's tied to this Leading at the Next Level podcast and so on. It's called Leading at the Next Level. We started it in late 2018. Today, it has more than 150 individual lessons about leadership, communication, team building, all the different aspects of what you face when you deal with and lead people that are approved for continuing education credits through a lot of entities. If you want to kick the tires, if you need access, shoot me an email at admin@dove-development.net, and I'll hook you up with a 45-day all-access trial on us. For those of you that don't have that need, God bless you. It's okay. We look forward to having you with us at the Leadership Legacy Experience on June 13th, 2025. Matt, thanks so much. Appreciate your friendship, sir.
Thank you, Wes. Stay safe, and I look forward to spending more time with you.
See you soon. Thanks.